Previously, I told you a story, and that story was about a group of people, all of these really, really smart, successful people that have sat together and created an SDS for you to use and for you to read and for you to trust, but they're filled with incorrect statements and incorrect data and general statements and clauses for recommendations, and it really doesn't help us to do anything at all. It's great, isn't it? And somebody gets paid to do all of that. Well, I'm going to continue on my destruction of an SDS for you. And I want you to read a couple of statements that have been pulled from an SDS. So here they are. The first one that I want to read to you is this one that's called Sucrose. It says, if swallowed, if conscious, give plenty of water and induce vomiting immediately as directed by medical personnel. Immediately call a physician or poison control center. This is pretty rough stuff, right? I pull up the document for Sucrose and I find that information because I've never worked with Sucrose before. And it tells me that if I accidentally get it into my mouth and eat it, then I need to drink plenty of water and I need to vomit. I need to get it out of my system. So there's probably issues with maybe reactions in the stomach. I don't want it to metabolize in my body. There could be issues with it absorbing and attacking the liver and the kidneys if it goes that route. But I need to get it out of my system. And it says, as directed by medical personnel. So that also probably means I need to tell a doctor if I do, and immediately call a physician or a poison control center if it does get into my mouth and I do swallow the Sucrose. I'm going to have to call a doctor. I'm going to have to call the poison control center. When they answer, I'm going to have to tell them, listen, I was in the laboratory and I was working with this stuff called Sucrose and I accidentally ate a little bit of it. And it tells me in the SDS sheet that I need to call you. I've already drank a lot of water. I've threw most of it back up, but I need to call you and I just need to check, is there anything else that I need to do? Or I give that same story to my doctor. Is there anything else that I need to do? And they're probably going to look at me or tell me on the phone, yes, you probably need to go back to elementary school because what you have just described is stupid. This is a prime example of an SDS and how ugly and how sloppy and how in many cases general statements do not make any sense at all. Because do you know what sucrose is? Sucrose is table sugar. Table sugar. If I looked up the SDS for table sugar and I put a teaspoon of sugar in my mouth and eat it, the SDS is going to tell me that I need to drink a lot of water and throw it back up and I need to call a poison control center. This makes no sense. But yet, that is what's inside of an SDS. The next one, saline solution. What's saline solution? Saline solution is basically your contact lens solution. Okay, so let's see what it tells me about the saline. Contact lens. In case of eye contact, immediately flush eyes with plenty of water for at least 15 minutes. And if I get it on my skin, I need to wash off all of that awful contact lens solution with soap and water. I should always wear safety glasses and a lab coat just in case I spill it. Give me a break. This is why people make fun of and do not trust SDSs. Contact lens solution. If I get it in my eyes, flush it with 15 minutes full of water. Well, that's the whole purpose of contact lens solution. I'm going to put it in my eyes. But again, this shows you why people ridicule the SDS, and the board that makes them. Next one, deionized water. Here's a good one for you. DI water. The clearest, cleanest water that you can typically get other than distilled. Have approved eye wash facility, a safety shower, and fire extinguishers readily available. Wear chemical splash goggles and chemical resistant clothing. Give me a break. This is really what they're telling me to do if I use deionized water? DI water coming from our faucet. I can drink this stuff. And they're telling me that I need a full-blown PPE, head to toe. And I need a fire extinguisher. What's it going to do? But I need a fire extinguisher on hand just in case something magically blows up with deionized water. Now you can see why these statements are so ignorant. Meaning that if you did not know any better, if you did not know what deionized water was, you would be prepared to walk into a lab in a full-blown bodysuit with a fire extinguisher working with deionized water. And you would do that if you didn't know what it was. Well, that's the problem. Most people in the beginning, they don't know what these chemicals are. They don't know how to handle them. That's the purpose of these forms. But these are the recommendations that they're giving me for table sugar, contact lens solution, and DI water that comes from my faucet. Now you get the drift. That's how these things are worded. They're not perfect documents. They never will be perfect documents. But this is the type of crap that I've got to read and go through to figure out, is it really necessary? Do I really need a fire extinguisher when I use deionized water because maybe that deionized water will blow up on me? If I spill deionized water on my skin, do I need to go to the safety shower like it states right there? Have approved eye wash facility and the safety shower? Or even on top of that, if I get deionized water in my eyes, they're telling me to go to an eye wash facility. What do they think is in the eye wash facility? Give me a break. That's your SDS, people. Congratulations. That's what you get to use. And again, people have gotten paid for all of that nonsense. Okay, so we're going to break down the SDSs. We're going to go into a little bit more detail in each of the different sections, just trying to touch base so that you can fully really comprehend and understand what's going to be on the inside of it. And the very first kind of section that shows up in the SDS is section 1, and that's the chemical, product, and company ID. All right, there's a few things that you have to find in the SDS with this. I mean, these are now kind of the requirements that you should be finding. And I will say that a lot of these are going to be factual. It's not general broad statements. So everything in section 1 is pretty good to go, right? I mean, we can honestly read these and take what they tell us to the bank, because they're not going to exaggerate and give us these general clauses. So the very first thing that you will probably see in this section are the principal names for the chemical. And I'm going to put this in parentheses because there could just be one principal name or there could be many of them. But IUPAC is really the focus here. The International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, that's going to be the name that they will focus. However, they will also give you common names as well. So you'll see the whole gambit of nomenclature that will show up in this section. Any name that this compound will go by will typically be listed in section number 1. So those things are true. They're tested. They're not lying to us over that. I mean, it is what it is, right? The next one is the CAS number. And that CAS number, we said, is a value that we can type into many different databases and find exactly what we're looking for the exact chemical that we have. So that is not going to be wonky unless they've mistyped the CAS number or any of this information as it's been transcribed or converted over to computer once it goes from paper to computer. Next one is a catalog number. The catalog number is traditionally for the company. So if I have to go and I have to reorder this all over again, then that catalog number is what I would use to reorder that chemical with that particular company. Because it's related to the company's name is also going to be present in this section. That way I know who to contact if I do have to reorder it and my database for inventory is down. So there we go. There's kind of a backup for me. And then finally is an emergency contact number. This can be used for different purposes. But the emergency contact number can be anything from, hey, there's a problem with this, I want to tell you about it, to, hey, there's a big kind of spill that's happened, what should we do about it, to any other problems or something that you would like to bring to the company's attention. It's typically a number with the company that makes the chemical that you can call. Emergency contact number, if it really is a true emergency, you would call 911. But this will give you kind of a direct number or direct contact to the company that made the chemical if you have to bring something to their attention. Okay, so what would be the uses here for section number 1? Well, the uses here would be for emergency personnel. So these could be maybe the firefighters that arrive onto the scene and they want to know more information about this chemical that was in the fire or that could be in the fire. And they're going to call this company up and they're going to talk to someone that's familiar with this stuff and ask them the real questions to get real answers, not just these general statements that are in the SDS itself. Something else are, of course, the accidents. If I have an accident in the laboratory, again, this gives me a very good place to go to get some answers and to kind of figure out what exactly was there or present when I used it. And finally, recommendations for PPE, personal protective equipment. So what should maybe I be thinking about? Because here I see some common names. Maybe I'm familiar with those common names. Emergency contact numbers. Maybe they'll tell me more details about what I need. And this will kind of give me an idea or begin to give me an idea of how important the PPE actually is in relation to this chemical. So that's going to be section 1. That's kind of the information that we would find, no more and no less. Again, it's typically truthful. There's no general statements. It is what it is, and I can take it to the bank. So no lies and deceit here. All right, so in the next video, we'll continue on with the next section of the SDS, and that's going to be section 2. So take a break if you need it, come back, take some more notes, and we'll venture on through the SDS sheet.